Hello, my name is Steve McQuarrie, and I am a technical marketing engineer with Cisco's Server Switching and Virtualization product group. This video is part of a series that is intended to show some of the unique advantages made possible by Cisco's server offering called the Unified Compute System, or UCS for short. This video will show the viewer the advantages of configuring single wire management using the Cisco Virtual Interface Card, or Cisco Vic, on a standalone Cisco UCS server in classical Ethernet and VN tag mode. Let's start by taking a look at connectivity for a rack mount server in a traditional data center network with storage connectivity. It is not uncommon for a rack mount server to have up to 6 connections to the network, including connections for Fabric A and Fabric B for storage, PCIe or LAN on motherboard connections to the Ethernet network, and then 1 or 2 management connections off to a management network. These management networks typically consist of lower end switches connected back to the main data center network. In order to minimize some of these connections, the Distributed Management Task Force created a standard called Network Controller Sideband Interface, which provides the ability to use a single wire or a single interface to connect to the management controller. In the Cisco C-Series server, the Cisco Vic has an NCSI connection which provides access to the baseboard management controller, or the Cisco Integrated Management Controller, known as the SimSea. Using this feature, it is possible to connect a Cisco UCS C-Series server with the Cisco Vic to the network using a single wire, providing fiber channel connectivity with fiber channel over Ethernet, standard Ethernet connectivity, and management connectivity, eliminating the need for multiple wires to the server. In addition, the Cisco Vic is managed through the SimSea. We'll take a look at some of this configuration here. So here we see that we have a MAC address showing for management for our current SimSea. And we take a look and see it's in shared LAN mode, which means we're using the LAN on motherboard ports to connect to SimSea. Taking a look at our management switch, we'll verify that this particular MAC address is in the MAC address table, and we'll see that here on gig 015. Next, we want to take a look at the Cisco Vic and the SimSea. So we'll take a look here and see that we're currently not managing the SimSea from the Vic. So we want to go into our Ethernet switch and verify that the links we're dealing with here are the proper ones. So we're going to go in and shut these interfaces down and make sure we can see that status change in the SimSea. Now you'll note here on the adapter status, as we do a refresh here and see the link go down, that the encapsulation type here is Classical Ethernet. Classical Ethernet means standard 10 gig E. So the Cisco Vic does not require to be connected to a Cisco switch. It could be any 10 gig uplink switch in what we call Classical Ethernet mode. Later we'll discuss VN tag or network interface virtualization mode, which does currently require a Cisco switch. So we've got both of the links down here. We want to take a look at the running configuration on these interfaces, and we're going to see that these are trunk links. Currently it's native VLAN 10, so standard 802.1q trunk down to the SimSea, and we'll bring both of the links back up, and these configurations should match on each side. Now, from a network administrative standpoint, we're going to deal with VLAN 10 being our management network. Typically, we wouldn't have the management network in the native VLAN, but for purposes of demonstration here, we want to show both native VLAN, non-tagging, and that also the Vic can tag. So that management network that typically connects off to separate switches can be trunked down through our management switch. So in our administration tab for SimSea, we're going to change our mode from shared LAN to Cisco card. So doing this obviously is going to disconnect us. Now the Cisco card is in a different subnet now, and we also want to go over here to our switch and actually shut down the interface that was attached to our management network, showing that we are in fact using the Cisco single wire management for connectivity. So we're going to go check the DHCP address, and we see an address lease here of 172.16.110.30, which is our new SimSea address, and we'll bring the SimSea back up, new connection, so we have to log back into the SimSea. As the SimSea comes up, you'll note, if you look down here on the bottom, the MAC address change in the IP address for the management network. Then we'll also navigate over to the Cisco Vic adapter and take a look and see that we're currently in SimSea management is allowed for the card. So basically we're using NCSI or single wire management to connect. And then we'll take a look at our network settings. So we see the MAC address here we saw on the summary page, which is now the SimSea MAC address. We're going to verify that this is in fact the MAC address in our MAC address table on both of our uplink switches that's connected to the Vic, and we see that's the case there as well. So normally we wouldn't use a native VLAN. Instead, we would want to enable VLAN tagging. Now, this VLAN tagging mechanism would be the same VLAN that normally a management switch we plugged into, but this way we can provide the same level of security that we would. So we'll change the native VLAN on the switch, enable tagging, and then we'll see that the SimSea comes back up the same way it did before. The final advantage we want to look at here is using VN tagging or network interface virtualization for single wire management. So we're going to enable VN tagging or NIV mode on the adapter. Now, this is a special tag between the switch and the adapter that actually creates a virtual interface on the switch for each individual virtual adapter. In this case, the virtual adapter is going to be our management interface. VN tagging is the pre-standard for the IEEE 802.1BR bridge extension. The advantage of the VN tag is that it actually passes down information from the switch for the individual virtual adapters, so that we don't have to go to the card on each server and configure all of these settings. So we just put in the port profile, management, and it's inherited by the virtual interface on the actual VIC from the switch itself. So all this configuration is consolidated and centralized to the switch. So we see here the virtual interface associated with this particular server. If we take a look at the MAC address table, we see the MAC address, and that MAC address matches what we see for the management interface. So now our C-Series server has a single wire that provides us connectivity for our fiber channel over Ethernet, our Ethernet, as well as our management connectivity into the network. To recap, providing out-of-band server management can be a challenge in many environments due to the cost and management of added network elements. The Cisco Vic helps by providing the server admin the tools necessary to provide a converged network for management, Ethernet, and storage using a single wire from the server to the upstream network switchboard. This ends this UCS Advantage video, where we show how the unique capabilities in the Cisco UCS can lead to simplified deployment models with much faster service turnaround to meet the increasing demands of the business. Please go to www.cisco.com/go/UCS for printed collateral, including a brochure that highlights the information shown in this video. Thank you.